We dismiss history at our peril.
Liberty Nation Radio with Mark Angelides.
Welcome back to Liberty Nation Radio. We're going to hand over to longtime host of this here Liberty Nation Radio and Liberty Nation's senior political analyst, Tim Donner, to find out just how out to lunch are the political and media classes. Over to you, Tim.
Okay, thank you, Mark. And the hottest of all hot-button political, constitutional, cultural, and religious issues was aired out at the Supreme Court this week. Abortion, Roe versus Wade, now openly seen as endangered by a Supreme Court stocked with conservatives after 3 appointments by Donald Trump gave constitutionalists a 6-3 advantage, and the opportunity for which conservatives and pro-lifers have been waiting a lifetime. It's been almost 60 years since the famous or infamous decision by the nation's high court that unleashed the most bitterly explosive, polarized debate we've ever witnessed about a ruling frequently challenged over 6 decades, but never overturned, until perhaps now, in an abortion case from Mississippi, whose Solicitor General Scott Stewart argued that Roe versus Wade was wrongly decided and should be reversed by the nation's high court. And progressive justice Elena Kagan provided the bookend response.
Nowhere else does this court recognize a right to end a human life. Roe versus Wade and Planned Parenthood versus Casey haunt our country. They have no basis in the Constitution. For 50 years, they've kept this court at the center of a political battle that it can never resolve.
The rationale behind those cases has something to do with the autonomy and the freedom and the dignity of women to pursue their lives as they wish, to protect their bodily integrity.
Well, those are perfect representations of the unmovable, unshakable positions of both the pro-life and pro-choice movements. And many court watchers are weighing in with the view that the court seems prepared to uphold the Mississippi law in question that bans abortions after 15 weeks of pregnancy in what could be the most important abortion case in decades. We won't know their decision until they reconvene in June. Meanwhile, Americans long since weary of COVID-19 and the lockdowns associated with it are now being told of another variant of the deadly virus. This time it's called Omicron, another letter in the Greek alphabet, found first in South Africa, with cases now reported in more than a dozen countries, including Canada and now in the U.S. This has led to travel bans and lockdowns overseas, and the uncertain response of the Biden administration has people starting to panic here. But the doctor who actually discovered the Omicron variant, Dr. Angelique Ketsi of South Africa, says there's no reason to panic.
We don't see severely ill patients. So it started with the younger generation, 40 and less, and the most predominant clinical complaint is severe fatigue for 1 or 2 days, with then the headache and the body aches and pain. And some will have a dry cough, but it's not a constant cough. It comes and goes. And that's more or less the big symptoms that we have seen.
And yet you can count on control-freak leftist politicians to start calling for fresh lockdowns and mandates and who knows what else. While the good news, at least at this point, is that this new COVID variant does not appear to be as lethal as we first feared, the bad news is that inflation continues to rise, taxing everyone all the time and everywhere. With Democrats responding to inflation with plans for a massive social welfare bill entitled Build Back Better, costing trillions. GOP Senator John Barrasso of Wyoming calls it a fantasy.
I view this as a back-breaking bill for the country, with the kind of expenses, the spending, the adding to the debt, the inflation, the taxes that are going to hit the American people. And, you know, for Joe Biden to say we have to spend even more money on top of inflation, I mean, to me, this is Alice in Wonderland logic.
Well, pumping trillions more in federal money into an inflationary economy may seem like Alice in Wonderland, but it's nothing compared to the fantasy of a society with no federal prisons, where literally every prisoner accused of a federal crime would be released into the wind. No way, you say? Way! I respectfully respond, it's called the Breathe Act. And an incredulous Jonathan Swan of Axios News asked its chief advocate, Democratic Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib, the obvious question.
To what extent have you wrestled with any potential downsides of releasing into society every single person who's currently in a federal prison?
Yeah, I think that everyone's like, oh my God, we're going to just release everybody. That's not what I'm... Yeah, but did you see how many people are mentally ill that are in prison right now?
No, I know, but the act that you endorsed actually says release everyone in 10 years.
But in 10 years, but think about it, who will release...
But there are like human traffickers,
I know.
Child sex. So, but you're saying, do you mean that you don't actually support that?
No.
You endorsed the bill.
No, I endorsed the Breathe Act and looking at the policies and how we incarcerate, absolutely.
But it says in there...
But you cannot just blankly say, oh, look, she wants... That's not what I'm...
But that's like in plain text. Your proposal is so sweeping. It does release everyone. And what I'm trying to say to you
within 10 years, and obviously there's a process of looking at how can we get away from mass incarceration.
Sure. So let's see if we've got this straight. Because there are mentally ill people unjustly held in prison, we should release all the prisoners. That's perhaps the most toxic of all the one-step solutions from the one-step left. Things like guns kill people, so let's ban all guns. Some cops are corrupt, so let's ban all cops. And now the pièce de résistance. Some people in prison shouldn't be there, so let's ban all federal prisons. There, my friends, is an effective summary of the mind of the progressive. And we leave you with the comforting words of old Uncle Joe from the White House, trying not to be the Grinch who stole Christmas because of supply chain problems.
I can't promise that every person will get every gift they want on time. Only Santa Claus can keep that promise.
Humor from the 46th president. Mark, who knew? Back to you.
Thank you, Tim. Great content as always. Now, after this short break, we're talking liberty with Scott Cosenza to prognosticate on the ongoing abortion case in the United States Supreme Court. What's the timeline? What's the process? And what's being ignored? We'll be right back.
We dismiss history at our peril.
Liberty Nation Radio with Mark Angelides. Who are we? We are Americans that believe in liberty. We are a project of the nonprofit One Generation Away. We are patriots who apply the founding principles to the issues of today.
And they keep moving the goalposts on us.
We are educators and commentators who love America and the Constitution. Who are we? We are Liberty Nation.